Welcome. Thank you for joining us today at East Community High School Parent Center. Thank you to Parent Center Taylor for hosting us today. We're grateful. Thank you for spending your time. Help yourself pizza, apples, and cookies. So today is the MLK Jr. Park Olmsted Community Alliance meeting. And before we get started on MLK Park matters, just a quick review on the Conservancy's mission and vision. So our mission, in short, is to steward Buffalo's historic Olmsted Park and Parkway system to welcome and benefit all. We do that through many ways, including collaboration with partners, advocating for quality parks, as well as enhancing our park spaces through capital projects, events, fundraising, etc. Our vision is moreover large encompassing to create an exceptional park network for all of Buffalo. This vision is relatively new in the last year. The Conservancy team as a whole is learning what this means for us in each of our jobs. So thank you for your understanding as we move towards creating an exceptional park network for all of Buffalo. We have to work together, right?
Right.
So quick overview of the agenda. There is a paper copy on the table by the coffee machine if you want to see a physical copy. If not, there's some reordering of this agenda. We'll be starting with the MLK Monument Plaza lighting and the Science Museum update, followed by everything else. Only because those two are our guest speakers, and I don't want to hold it down here. So we'll start with those two individuals first. Quick overview on your amazing team behind MLK Park. District Supervisor Troy Drake. Bethany Casella is our greenhouse head grower. She is in charge of leading a team to make sure that all the plants, flowers are grown from seed every single year for the park system, throughout the park system, for all the flower beds throughout the park system. We probably grow about 15,000 every single year, and it takes a large team over the course of winter working really hard to make that happen. Special Gardens Manager Madeline McGrady, she's in charge of special garden areas in the park, and MLK Park is home to one of them, the John E. Brand Garden, which was dedicated 2 years ago. And this year, we dedicated a bench in honor of Ms. Christine Parker as well.
Looks like a minis.
Anybody's interested in family community engagement, local public schools, and yes, family engagement, you're in one of our parent centers here. So this is what we want to do. If any of you have other community events, other organizations, you want to come in and partner. Yes, I don't have any part with me.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I'll put it in a follow-up email with your.
Well, direct.
Can I put your email in there?
Oh, yes, you can put my email and everyone will be talking about it.
Yes. Thank you, Jen. Okay, you guys find a seat? Are you sure? Okay. So we'll get started with the lighting project at MLK Jr. Park. Our speaker is Michael Geyer, sorry. So this project is talking about the lighting enhancements at the MLK Monument Plaza. That is where Bess and Fillmore is at the entrance over there. And the lighting enhancement project is in the final phase right before construction, representing the Arts Commission this week. So Michael here is going to give you an update on what to expect after the construction, which is all the exciting stuff. So take it over.
Thank you for your time, but again, I see some familiar faces of some people who have been involved in the project, and my involvement is I was a partner with Labella, the architect engineer, who put together the lighting package for the revamping of this application. And right now it's dimly lit. It's a bit kind of, I didn't even know it was existing. So that's my downfall. But with the lighting, what the changes that are coming and security lighting, color changing lighting. So as seasons change, Christmas, any holidays that we must not. You see many buildings in Buffalo right now changing blue to white for Israel this week, and we were red for the Bills last week. So There's some adaptability where you can make it more entertaining, bring more attention to something that was not there before. So I did pass out, or Z did pass out some of the drawings that show schemes and schematics, and unfortunately, I don't have that up on this, but the focus is replacement light poles that are projecting lights towards the bus. So right now, that will be illuminated, and the vision, that head will stand out from, you'll be on the other side of the park and be able to see it. So that, with the color changing around the perimeter, there are some security bollards that bring general lighting to an area that had no real lighting other than floodlights back years ago. So again, me not even being there until I had my first site meeting, it says, I didn't even know it existed. So hopefully it'll bring more community people into that park and bring some attention to this bus that's been there for many years. So it's a, again, I also was involved with the other side of the park, not to switch projects, but seeing the security concerns of things getting vandalism and things like that. Hopefully that'll keep this to a minimum and provide some security there too. So, and also a place for throughout the year to do community events there, outside bands and concerts and things now that you may not do past dusk because you didn't have any lighting, you didn't have any power, you didn't have any way for a band to get set up. Through numerous meetings, it's evolved and gotten to a point, say, I need this, and this is what we'd like. I think as a group and a community team, everybody got to that point in the end. And hopefully in the end, everybody will say, I love that stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to as well. But again, I'm on the lighting side of things and working with Labella, and they're the architect and engineer side of it to make sure there's enough power and controls. Going to be a standout project for community. So that's really an overview of what the project is. So we have a couple people that maybe they could add some things that
Sure.
you would. I'm looking at. Keep looking around.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Just a quick summary of, sorry, don't mind me reading. Quick
You don't have
summary.
a microphone.
Yeah. No, we do not, but I will
Can
try
you
to.
speak a little louder?
Yes, I will try
please?
to speak louder. Okay. So a quick summary on the lighting project. It would enhance the entire area of the Monument Plaza to have aesthetic lighting. So you will be able to see colored lighting, just like how we have Buffalo lit throughout the city, and like City Hall, the electric tower, and I believe like Phillips Lido, etc. Sorry.
All right, go ahead. Right.
So
That's
no-
gonna look beautiful from the street. That's gonna look beautiful from the street.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Yeah. So this will enhance the aesthetic look of the Monument Plaza, mainly in the evening and when it's dark outside because it's lights. And also it would have an opportunity for us to project phrases, two phrases that have been decided with the Buffalo African American Museum, because they were the committee that launched and made this Monument Plaza possible back in the
1987.
Thank you. Back in the 80s, thank you. So this plaza has a lot of, goes back in histories and it has a historical significance with the Buffalo African American Museum. So the two quotes that have been decided are, "Together as one, I have a dream." And those are the two quotes that will be reflected on the ground. So those can be visible at night and the lighting can be changed, and we will likely follow the Buffalo lit schedule based on City Hall's, based on the mayor's office recommendations. But we can also change it based on an event that's going on, based on, let's say, if it's celebrating Dr. King's birthday for January, we can make the whole month a certain color. So there's some flexibility there, and we're really excited for what this would enhance the park in the future. Any questions on this project? Yes.
Oh, who's responsible if the lights go out? Is it city, National Grid, Maine, Olmsted? Who do I report the light out to?
You can report it to us, Olmsted first, and then we will pass it down the chain based on that. Yep. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry, her first, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So when are the RFPs coming out, and are you guys targeting BIPOC, workers to get the job done?
So this has already been secured and construction has already been bidded out. I don't remember when, but Labella is the company that has been working with.
This is probably over a year now.
It has been over a year, and both companies have been working closely with the city of Buffalo, as well as, I think it's funded by the state. Hi. And the Olmsted Parks Conservancy, and also with the Buffalo African American Museum to hopefully make the project in a way that would serve the community the best.
Right, Rebella is contracting, right? Because I'm sorry,
They are the engineer architects, so they designed the lighting concept. It then went out to bid to local contractors, electrical contractors, and general contractors. And in this case, it was a general contractor who won the bid and was successful, and then they hired an electrical contractor to do the installation. And
Electrical contractor.
You know who they are?
ESS.
Question.
And they're on Lee Street in Buffalo, so.
Sorry, I don't have a better answer for that. Thank you.
So looking at the drawing, oh, man.
Yes, sure, go ahead.
These are ballard lightings around?
Bollard, yep. Right. So envision, and I brought another set of drawings that you can share later to show you a picture of what they look like. But it's basically an illuminated lit bollard that you see in front of a top where it's a hole and it casts light outward.
And you can change the color of it?
Not on those, but there are some, you see my orange lines there?
Right.
So those have.
Those can
color
change color.
fixing. Yeah.
What about where the pink is coming up? Can those change color?
Pink. So those are white as well. There are two color changing lights on each pole assembly.
Okay, here and here,
Come back down to the pink on that one going out.
here and here.
Yeah,
Right,
and then you see my lines with the arrows.
right.
That is the projector fixture that she's got the.
So these are the projections on the ground expected to be?
Yep.
Is it in every one of these squares or just?
And we've talked since then that as the community or an event happens that you're gonna have a band or something, these fixtures are adjustable, not
Mhm.
mechanically adjustable, so they have to be
Oh.
loosened. But they're gonna come up with when the lights are lit and it's dark out, do some final focusing to set where they're positioned. Just in a plan, that's kind of where they show them right now.
Okay.
So, if I may, from Zoom, just out of a source of curiosity, where is the actual source of power coming from for the lighting? How is that projected through and to the area? And especially during our events that may take place after dusk, what type of input do we have in that? And I'm happy about the lighting. I think it's going to be beautiful. I would just like to know more about it. And I don't see that up on the Zoom screen.
Sorry, Anita, I will share the plans with you after the meeting. I just don't have a digital
Okay,
copy right now.
great. Thank you.
When it comes to special events, and I'll let you handle the electoral question, but when it comes to special events, we have yet to go through the how special event organizers will be able to tap into this new project. And that's partly because the Conservancy ourselves, we are trying to learn and understand what this project scope is after it's done as well. So I believe the next step will be once the project is done, a few of us probably have to go out at night to check it out and see like what do we have control, what do we need more people to like, what do we need to go for the city for control and things like that. And then we'll decide with the City of Buffalo Special Events Department to identify what are some areas that is within a special events organizer's flexibility. Yes.
Shouldn't those things be determined in advance so that once the project is finished, you all can say what is user friendly and usable versus what's standard? Because after the fact, it's kind of late to find out what's available. You don't want to have to go back and put controls in.
So the controls the controls are already part of the project. It is the biggest thing as me as a lighting person to get 50 people to come up with what do you want it to do? Until you see what this thing's possible of doing with the color changing, with the projectors. The possibilities are truly endless. You could have, this could change 180 degrees after after the space and the facilities used, that you could come back and say, you know what, that's not working. We never changed it to that. It's all readjustable and reprogrammable. So it's not like you're set in stone, is where I'm going with that. So I get your point. I just don't know how to answer that everybody wouldn't have. I've yet to have somebody say, this is where I want it to be and this is how it is, because it's continuing to evolve, basically.
I guess, sorry, Gina, 1 second. To your point, it will be basically working with the city to identify a process that makes sense. Because the special events department in the city is its department on its own. The Conservancy is one step in their process, but we don't oversee the special event permits, right? So we don't know how this project will fit in, and it has to be fair across all projects, all special events permits. So it's just working out that process. Sorry, Gina first. Yes, Gina.
Okay, I wanna understand what you said about the repairs. If we have a maintenance issue, you said called Olmsted.
So ultimately,
There's a lighting
Yep.
issue called Olmsted.
so because this is in an Olmsted park, yeah, you can reach out to us first, and depending on who, we can pass it down the chain.
Okay, because normally when there's an issue, we normally call 311 and report, and they would ask us for a phone number.
That's
So
fine.
This is different.
I think because this is more like a capital project that is specific to a monument in the park. It's not like it's National Grid,
It's not part of the
Right.
National Grid.
so it's a different process for that.
Oh.
It'd be a long process if we had an issue to get it repaired.
How would we know that yet?
I honestly don't know, yeah. So
I think the question more is with 311, you can call and make issues about anything in the city, right?
Mhm.
With Olmsted, you guys have hours where there's somebody at the desk, there's somebody not at the desk.
Sure,
So if I'm walking through the park at 8 PM and I notice the light out, I can't call you. So
sure.
that elongates the process. Do you guys have any idea what the repair process is going to look like when we have to report to you rather than reporting to a larger system that caters to the public?
Sure, I think both ways would work. All 311 calls that's relating to the Olmsted Parks do get diverted to us eventually. Like it gets passed down, let's say a 311 call comes in on MLK Park, maybe something in the park. And then it gets passed to City Parks pass it to us. So eventually it does come to us. You can go both ways. You guys have my emails, you have our contact, you can send it to us and we
Call them
will.
both.
Just call both.
To be lost on the room, it's a very valid question, because 311 is not highly serviced in the communities that we live in or that I represent. So when you're telling me that in order to get something fixed in a park where I frequent, I have to notify someone else, learn a different service, right? Do you guys plan on making this service a part of 311? So you said I could call either, but you prefer us to call Olmsted, you know?
No, I mean, right now, like, that's the whole point of, thank you for coming, because this is the whole point. It's like
It's a plan.
getting to know you, getting to know me, to us as the Conservancy, and knowing that you can skip 311. Come to us, because it eventually comes to us, and we will do our best to be like, okay, this needs to go to this department in city parks, or maybe this department in the city, or we can directly contact National Grid and have one of our employees down there to fix the issue. I think you can use both methods. If 311 is what you're familiar with, go with it. But you can also reach out to the Conservancy, and we check emails.
But
I
who
answer
is-
phone calls, yes.
The Conservancy is responsible for the maintenance.
The Conservancy oversees the project, yes. Yes.
Just, so like when you call 311, they give you a reference number for your call. Does Olmsted, do you also get a reference number when you call the Conservancy for a repair or some sort of way to follow up? to make
Sure.
sure that-
Yeah, we actually don't, we are more like a nonprofit, not so much of a municipality, yeah.
Like the follow-up
Sure,
procedure,
yeah.
because I'm hearing it.
So one way you can do it is there's a contact form on our website, and actually Miss Ellen here is our amazing reception administrative assistant who handles everything there, and you would have a paper like an email trail. you can email us and that would be your point of contact. Not so much of like 311 where you have a number to follow. Yes.
Kind of piggybacking off what they said, does contact, like, say we call them, would y'all have to call the city for anything
It depends on what the issue is.
as far as?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give an example. So like, it really depends on the issue. The other month, we had like illegal fireworks go off in one of our parks. And so I got an email from the deputy commissioner, but we also Miss Ellen got a call from 311 with the complaint. So this person who complained about it, like, did everything, and then we ended up all working together to figure out like, who it was and what company set the fireworks off. So usually it's everyone working together, and eventually someone handles the issue.
No, I was just making it not clear, but just kind of understanding that y'all are, y'all are your own thing. It's not like y'all under the umbrella of 311. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Yeah, we are not under 311.
Okay.
That's correct.
I'm 311.
You are missed out. Yeah, you're not 311. When you email us, our emails are our names, so you are reaching out to a person.
Oh,
Yes, and we check in with each other. We work together as a team. We work very closely with the city, which is why even if you do it through 311, it still gets to us. So either way works. Sounds good. Any other questions on this project specifically?
I'm sorry to be
Yes,
late,
go ahead.
but one of the questions was talking about the lighting. Did you discuss that the lighting, once it's up, I mean, it's not something that you change every week. It'll be fixed.
Yep.
And that not all of the lights change colors. Many of them, their color is fixed.
Mhm.
It's only about direction. Did you guys discuss that?
He did that in his presentation.
We did talk briefly about it, but not into the details, but I also brought with me the submittal set and the pictures that show a better detail of that pole that we've talked about and the
Yeah.
projector.
I just raised a question because I had heard a question here that they didn't seem to, they didn't seem to know that. So I was raising, does everybody understand? Once it's up, the project is done, the lights are fixed. I mean, it's not something that you can change, that you will change they are changeable. They won't be changed every day. It becomes a process to change one.
Right.
I think Z touched on that with lit schedule and the city of Buffalo following that regimen because they have a monthly schedule where they change the lights for different events and activities and things like that. So I think that plays into what you're trying to say, because if we're following a schedule, then we'll be on the same schedule as the other, like the museum, the Science Museum, the City of Buffalo, the National Grid building, and those other entities in the City of Buffalo who are trying to show solidarity as far as celebrating.
Which was
Whatever that
beautiful,
is.
by the way.
Yeah,
We saw it.
I was under the impression that the lightings would change from time to time. The various colors would change from time to time. I was under that impression. I don't know if that's right or wrong now.
Yes, I can address that. But the lights themselves, the bulbs will not be able to be moved. They're fixed. But the permutation, the combination of lighting, color, scheme is infinite. It can be programmed any which way, with different schemes, different colors, to suit the time, whatever.
Correct. So, but I think to Stan's point was, if today we've learned this through a couple meetings that we've had, that it didn't fit the application as well as you thought. You talked about adjusting it towards this way, towards that way. And working through Labella, yeah, if that's what they'd like to have out there, that's why we have adjustable fixtures. And again, I'm not looking forward to the cold when we're out there adjusting these again, but go out and see it at night and say, here's what we can do with this. Yes, this is
Really
gonna work for
beautiful.
us. So to your point, yes, it is adjustable, but it isn't something that today it's Juneteenth and then next week it's something else that, well, we gotta change these, adjust it. Kind of happy medium, we'll call it.
Mike, did you say at one point that for the first 2 months, I mean, there's possibility of shifting the lights, but 1-2 months goes away and it becomes a matter of programming rather than shifting the lights. Is that correct?
Remotely.
Right. And again, that goes to my point, until we see it lit and get a feel of driving around and say, ooh, can we do this? That feedback comes back to them and say, can we change this? Sure. But to do it on a piece of paper or on even a computer screen, it's very difficult until clients and users, the community gets to see it. So that's what, yes, 2 months, it could go longer, truthfully, but.
I think it's a beautiful idea.
But I'm willing to work with this, not infinitively, but for a good amount of time to make sure that you guys are happy and make sure that that's what you're envisioned. So
What's the time frame, Mike, to get up? So give us a rough idea of the time
about,
when it's gonna be, ready to be.
I got something today that they were pouring the bases for those pools. So I would say by the end of the month, the bases would be there. They should start to excavate and do the trenching for the power and all the control wires. So you should see some construction happening or some site work going on within the next 2 weeks.
We'll say a prayer for the weather.
Thank you. Okay, we do need to move on with the agenda. There's a few other things, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions, you're welcome to chat with me after and I can relay the questions. Okay, now we have David from the Buffalo Museum of Science.
Okay, I'm driving. All right, well, I came to talk to you today. Oh, just do that. Okay, so Buffalo Museum of Science, 1020 Humboldt Parkway or 175 North Parade. I'm sure you're very familiar with the facility. We have, front steps that are not quite looking like they should. I'm talking about the front steps plaza area here that you're familiar with, I'm sure. If you've been by there recently, you've seen it under construction. I've got a little bit of a highlight here to show the area. We're working with the city of Buffalo. Our building is owned by the city of Buffalo. And so it's a project that the city's running. Everybody thinks it's our project. Well, I'd like to think it's my project, but really, we're just tenants there. So over the past few years, you've seen the deterioration of this well-loved space. We had to close it down for obvious reasons. It was just unsafe for people to be up there and to have programming and things like that. So very glad that the city was able to finally put the funding in place to be able to do this project. So the project started earlier this year, and they've been working away pretty hard at it. The demo phase is pretty much done. So most of the pounding and the debris and all that has been removed. And we're starting to see things come back to construction. So literally, this isn't actually all of the demo. There's actually cavities up here where they've taken some cement out that cover a garage. But all of the cement and the limestone have been removed. Every stone was categorized with a tag. They actually used a system called LiDAR, which is I don't want to say a radar, but it's a system that marks every stone, puts it on a plan, so they know how to reassemble it when it's time to do it. It's very kind of so they have two systems. They have the tags, and then they have this LiDAR system so that they know where every stone goes when they start putting it back. So that's at the height of the demolition process. Doesn't look a lot different, but this is actually when they started the reconstruction, which was a couple months ago. And I mentioned there was some more demolition here where they knocked out those pieces. There was a lot of debris removed. But like I said, every piece of the stone was tagged and marked. There was a lot of debris that, because of the deterioration over years, there was a bit more stone that had to be located, and that was one of the things that slowed the process down a little bit. When they initially did the assessment of the damage, it was many years ago. And so city takes its time to get the money. Once that money's all there, that stone has been deteriorating all along. So they had to actually reopen a quarry that had been closed to get this specific kind of stone so that it would match as closely as possible. So they worked through that process. There was a change order and everything that had to go through common council vote and all that. But the good news is that all that went through and things are moving along pretty well. Right now, the biggest concern is the weather. So these are forms that show what they call the walls that I'll go back a slide. They call these, it's hard to see them, but there's walls that hold up in there the limestone, and it's called a stem wall. So what this is a form that shows the repouring of the cement for those stem walls. Here's the other side where they've now repoured the cement and removed the forms. Now they can put the limestone back on. So that's where we are today. They've poured new footing here, and now the stone will sit on there in the position where it was before, and it'll all get registered with the stone that should be next to it and above it and all that. This also shows that they are reconditioning the flagpoles that are out there as well. This looks like the steps, but this isn't the steps finished. This is re-poured cement. All the cement that was in here had to be removed. It was all broken up and whatever. So that has all been recast, and now the stone will go back on there. So today, if you walk by there, you'll see this on the park side of the building, the west side, the east side, and it'll look like it's almost ready, but it's not, because now they have to lay the limestone back on there. They're not going to do that this season because we're getting late in the season. So that'll occur in the spring. Right now, what they're trying to do is get all these stem vertical walls poured and get all these footers for the steps on this side and the other side. So then when the spring comes, it's much more about finishing it up. I don't want to be too misleading here. They're not going to pour the large amount of cement till next year. They're going to wait and do that. So what this shows is, here's the stem wall, the cement that they repoured, and here's the 2 courses of limestone going back on. Here's another footer. They call that a footer. That's the cement that the stone sits on. So now you've got 1 course of limestone. You've got the 2nd course of limestone. And those will get capped off with the stones that you will see in another picture here. And then the lamp posts, those are all off-site being refurbished. They'll come back looking nice. They'll have new globes on them, and it'll be the 16 glowing lights that they had before. It's going to look stunning.
Quick question, are they cleaning the stone and putting it back?
So the stone, some of the stone has been cleaned and some of it still needs to be cleaned. So yes, I'm not sure if I answered your question exactly, but they're still cleaning it, obviously. Yeah, I think, so what they have to do is still fill all these joints with the mortar, and that, so they're not gonna do that, I'm almost positive they're not doing that till next year either. So all that has to get cleaned up and everything. This is a drawing that Hamilton Houston Architects did for the city. And the reason I'm showing you this one is it's a drawing, so it's not real, but there's going to be accessible ramps instead. So the stairs used to go straight across here on both sides, but now there's going to be a cut through for a handicap accessible ramp. And that'll take you up to Plaza 1. And then there's another ramp that'll take you up to Plaza 2. And then there's a ramp that's hard to see in this photo, so I apologize, that will take you on, it's actually got glass railings. So that's one reason why you can't see it. But it'll take you up to the entrance door there. So it'll be completely accessible. And as well, there will be in these railings, there will be lighting underneath to illuminate that at night as well. So there'll be the 16 globes again that will all be restored and back up there, and the lighting in the railings as well. So, and then it'll, like I said, it'll be completely accessible at that point. And if you've been by there in the last couple of months at night, you'll see it looking like this. Sometimes it's not always blue, sometimes it's white. We are also part of the program that Michael was talking about, Buffalo Lit. It's the mayor's program so that everybody coordinates the colors of their lights for various events. Right now, I think we're all blue for Israel. So, but that changes. The mayor will send out a message and we all change our lights. They're all computerized programs now. That's what Mike was talking about. So the light might be blue today, white tomorrow, and it can change according to the needs of the community.
That's right, the whole month of February.
Are you going to keep both entrances?
So this entrance is probably only going to be used for special events. So the current entrance where you go in now is going to still remain our main entrance. And the reason for that is it's going to take us a while to reconfigure things inside the building. There's no gift shop there. There's no coat room. There's small lavatories.
So
You got to make the money.
You ever open the front door?
Well, yeah, it's true. When I was a kid, I used to come in a different door on the side also, but it wasn't the one we use today. So yeah, eventually we will get to that point where that door will get used for more frequently. But what we're hoping to do is if they finish it early enough next year is have a big neighborhood party. We want to invite everybody to come be on the plaza. And then long term, we are planning to do programming out there so that it's just, you don't have to come in the museum for everything. You can just be outside and we're having, there might be party tables, there might be rockets being blown off. There are, like little kid rockets and whatever. But we could do demonstrations and we could do things out there. We could see Pappy Martin coming back and, things like that. So.
Can you show that rendering again?
We do have only a few minutes left for
Oh,
this.
I'm sorry. I'm
Because you said programming and that popped.
Sorry,
ideas in my head.
I locked it up. Yeah, there you go.
So there's room for tables out there if you want to have like a
Oh, yeah.
luncheon? Okay.
Yeah, none of the size really changed. The only change to the plaza, the large areas out there, are these two ramps that you will have. So that's a compromise so that we have, but those are very large areas there. And so we're very excited to be able to open this up and have it be a neighborhood space again. So.
Thank you.
You can always reach us at the Buffalo Museum of Science, come to our website. And actually, if you keep going there, see there's one, that's a different project. We won't talk about that one today. But sciencebuff.org is our website, and you can always, I'm listed there, I'm David. But any one of us would be happy to answer your question or talk to you further about any of that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Giving us a platform, man.
Thank you, David. Any questions? David's here.
I don't know if anybody asked it before, but did anyone ask the question or was it answered? Is there any chance of it being vintage or historic architecture dating around either the museum or the park itself?
Like a sculpture sort of event?
Well, you know how they have this, you can get gates that look like.
Oh, yeah.
You get a real historic looking gate.
There are, I don't know if you noticed that there are dates carved into the surface of the building. Right now, that's all we have right now, but we're looking at other ideas on, and that would be, welcome idea to like, what can we do to make this even more of an experience, not just a place to go and sit, but a way to sort of use it as a tool for educating people about various things. Dates like that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. So this is a project that has been completed, but we wanted to share it and re-emphasize on the purpose of the project and why it was implemented across many city parks, including 3 Olmsted parks in the city of Buffalo. So it's a perimeter security project that was implemented mainly because vehicles were driving through the park or using basically to get from one street to the other. They would drive through the park to get from one place to the other, and it was
They were driving through the park.
Posing as a danger and a potential hazard for people using the parks. People walking, strollers, kids playing at the playground, and there was no room to consider anything to happen first before we do something. The city acted fast, and we saw police reports coming in throughout the park system and across many city parks about these issues happening. So the 3 parks that this project was implemented is MLK Park, Front Park, and Riverside Park. Front and Riverside were high with athletic fields where it's on the edge, close to the edge of the street. MLK Park has several special events throughout the summer, and people were not parking and walking to the event. They were driving into the park or they were driving to picnic shelters. And we wanted to shift behaviors to tell, instead of having, it was not possible to always have police enforcement around every single time. So how can we shift behaviors and put a symbol to say like, you're not supposed to drive into the park, which is why this was implemented. So a quick update, a quick overview on what is currently at MLK Park would be this. So starting from the side of the park that's closest to where we are in this school. So the school is somewhere here. So walking down to MLK Park, walking down to the park there where it's close to the playground, you would see boulders, trees that will be planted eventually, as well as some flower beds. And at some pathway entrances, there are removable bollards. Bollards are the black ones that look a little like more formal looking, and those can be removed with permission from the city. So let's say a special event has something going on, they can put in their permit, like I need this bollard removed so that my tent company can come in and set up a tent, an example. And it needs to be approved by the city and by Olmsted. Do you have a
Yeah.
question?
That works.
How are they moved when it comes to emergency vehicles coming in because something happened with one of the children
Sure.
in the splash?
So there are certain areas, this has all been in contact with the fire department and
You speak a little louder?
Yep, this was all made, this project was done in conjunction with the fire and police department. So there are certain pathways that do not have bollards where a vehicle can still go in. And if, let's say if someone actually really, but it takes a little bit more effort to get in. Like you can't just go off Fillmore and drive into the park because there's a boulder there. There, for example, for MLK Park, it's actually in the next slide. Right over here, where is it? There is a pathway here that does not have any bollards or boulders where if an emergency vehicle needs, they can go in through there. So this has been worked in conjunction with both departments so that they are aware of the scenario.
I walked around that entire park.
Sure.
And I checked every one of those boulders.
Mm-hmm.
If no one is there that works for the park and there's an emergency and a parent called for an emergency vehicle to come through, there's no one there to unlock that one boulder.
So there's no.
Who does the police have keys to those locks?
So to that point again, so there are certain pathways that do not have a boulder or a bollard. Yes.
I understand this question,
Yeah.
Mr. Herbert. Hello. The question that I asked kind of dovetails right into what you're
Sure.
saying.
Mhm.
If there were permanent gating in perhaps every 6 or 10 feet, a space large enough for an emergency vehicle, an ambulance, or police car to get in, then there wouldn't be the problem of having to figure out who's got the key for the boulder or how do you move the boulder.
Sure.
So I think, sir, is that kind of, would that be better, do you think, if they had maybe permanent gating instead of big rocks?
Or her answer is that.
I support the boulders going around the block to keep people from parking on the grass.
Mhm.
My people from parking on the grass, they go to Delaware Park, they don't park on the grass. I support the boulders. My concern is the emergency
Sure.
vehicles coming in there to see about the children that are playing in the splash pad.
Absolutely.
And I personally walked around and I checked every one of those boulders. And the middle one has a lock on it. And my concern is, well, hell, something happened, who got the key
Sure.
for the motor vehicles to emergency?
May I,
In the walkway where they designed it, there we can get an emergency vehicle through, right? So everyone, most of the access ways are going to be locked, right, to deter us, our folks.
The people that use the park don't know about those exits.
Yes.
And there's no signs in the park.
Thank you. Hold on. Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
There's no signs in the park instructing people where to go if they have to call or if a emergency vehicle have to come through. No signs.
Mhm. So I think on that part, what we can do is to re-emphasize to emergency vehicles, working with the police and the EMS fire departments to make sure that they are aware of how to enter the park at those access
The
points?
public, me and my grandkids, we don't know. The public needs to be educated on that.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. These two ladies have been raising their hands for a long time. So yes, you first.
I think if what you were saying is that you worked on this in conjunction with the fire safety and those types of things, kind of like schools and things, where they have a plan and the emergency personnel work with you and they help develop the plan. So they should have documentation which tells them how to get to the point. Now, the issue more importantly is if you're making an emergency call, you have to tell them where you are. You can't just say, I'm in Martin Luther King Park. You have to give a general idea of where you are so that you can tell them. But they have planned out access routes to get into the park so that they can rescue whoever. It's like any other location. They will get there, but you have to tell them where you are.
Right. Thank you. Gina?
Well, I want to piggyback.
Oh, okay, sure.
Just said, because when you call 911 or whoever, call you go to the fire department, right?
Sorry, say it again. When you call
This
911.
gentleman was walking with his grandchildren.
Yeah.
And it was an emergency. You call 911. Would the fire department get that call as well?
Yes. All 911 calls goes to fire department and police department.
Okay,
And
so is there
ambulance.
any
And
way that the
ambulance.
city can still put some sign saying in case of an emergency, 911, or there will be access to the ballers so they can, the public can be at ease saying, okay, something happened, we know that someone will come right away when we call 911. Can you get signs?
Sure. I will check in with the city. This is ultimately a city-led project, so I will re-emphasize this question on emergency vehicles accessing the park again to the city of Buffalo to make sure that, to confirm the first thing, that they've worked with the EMS departments on making sure that they know how to access the parks. And secondly, to see whether there's any kind of signage that's possible to assure park users.
Yeah, emergency vehicles only.
So more to come. I'm not sure on this, but thank you.
I just had,
Yes.
what Gina just said, I was gonna mention that as well.
Yep.
But the gentleman said he walked around the perimeter and he actually was able to detect which bollards had the lock. So my question is there a capability for the city of Buffalo to do markings on each one of those bollards that are removable so that the public can know about that as well and be more informed? And also the sign suggestion, I think, was really something that needs to be where people can notice where they are and when they are and have like a marker.
So the bollards,
Because it's a park.
yeah, the bollards actually requires a special
Right, that's what I'm
so,
saying, but
yeah.
can there be like a A3 or a number or a symbol or something? There's an emergency, people
Right.
can, something to, you
Sure,
know.
I see. So kind of like a
You
light
understand what
pole
I'm saying?
number.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
like a
I'm not
light
too
pole.
sure if that's a number now, but we will
Yeah.
check in on that too. Sorry, Stan, 1 second.
I was just gonna ask about the indication, you know how they have the phones, emergency phones on college campuses?
Mhm.
Are there any phones like that in any of the parks right now?
No, it doesn't. We actually asked a similar question, but it doesn't exist in a public space. Yeah.
Am I to understand? I was thinking that you were saying there are spaces in the park that are open where emergency vehicles can just go through.
Yes.
There
They're
is
not.
no.
No.
That's not right?
That's correct.
That's
All right,
not
so
right.
there's
They're
an
not.
open space with
There
no lock, no key. They know where to go.
They know where to go. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not talking about something that someone has to come and unlock to let
No,
them
yeah.
in.
No, you're
No,
right.
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
I'd like to make a statement if I can.
1 second.
It said it's 2 locations.
Hold on 1 second. Yes, go ahead.
Well, in other parts of the country, one of the things that they've done is color-coded parks. Because most people can see color.
Sure.
So if you have an emergency, you can say, I'm in the red section or the blue section, and that will alert the emergency people how they need to go to get in, to get to whomever.
Okay.
And
I
we
will
need that
definitely.
for all
Identify
kids.
We'll look into
We
that.
need that for lost kids and neurodivergent kids. If your kid is
There
lost,
you go.
especially during Juneteenth or one of our larger festivals, right? how do we identify where our kids are, right? Sometimes the festival is going way down in the streets, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that color idea.
Interesting, yeah. We'll definitely look into that. If you don't mind sending, if you see anything, feel free to send it
What
my
city
way, I'll
was
look
that?
it up too.
What city was
Well, I've seen it in DC, I've seen it in Chicago, I've seen it in.
it? We can Google
I
that.
get around.
Yeah, we'll look into it. Yes, Gina.
I just want to comment real quick, with the openings, you still have vehicles going through the car. So you guys got to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Complaining about openings, but vehicles is still going through MLK Park.
No.
Yeah, so.
Because of those spots that are still open, because of the emergency. Right, they're going through the emergency open.
So definitely to that point, if you do see vehicles and if you're able to catch a photo of their license plate.
You guys don't work. That does not work. And I'm very irritated. You know, I'm talking about driving through this park.
Yeah.
so
And before the
it
bricks,
doesn't work.
the rocks, the police weren't really taking enforcement seriously at all.
It's,
So,
so it's something where the more calls, the more community like the more calls goes to 311, the more calls to 911, the higher the police enforcement.
Is there any
And we, on our end, we also keep encouraging and pushing for police to patrol the area, especially in the dusk and nighttime. But it helps when it comes from the community. Yes.
And also just quickly, I know community members in here though, but the more involved in the processes that we feel, the more we feel that the park belongs to us, which would stop some of us from driving through the park. So just if we can get some of this a little bit more out, so I'm very active in some of these other rooms, you know what I mean? I heard about this last minute, right? And so for me to share this information or to come to the first one that I've heard, and I mean, it's like, oh, but the plan is already enacted, you know what I mean? It's like, damn.
Sure, yep.
You
And
know.
yeah, and actually this project, MLK was the first park to have this project implemented. And so we talked about it over 2 years now, and I that there's always room to grow and improve from community engagement. So definitely, for sure, there's lots of areas where we can work better, more areas where we can share about projects like that. So thank you, but thank you for being willing to come and
Has there
share
been
it.
any change?
Hold on one second. Yes,
I'd like to make a statement.
sure, Anita, 1 second. Okay.
I live on the park by North Parade, East Parade, on that side. Right across from the park. There's no lighting over there.
Okay.
There's no nothing. It's dark in that. It's bad.
North Parade and East Parade.
When are they
Okay.
gonna put the lighting and stuff up over on that side?
Okay, North Parade and East Parade, you said?
No, Northampton.
Northampton, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Right behind Science Museum. On the front.
Northampton and North Parade, right on that side. My house is facing the
Okay.
park. So it's pitch black over there.
We will look into that. Thank you. I'm not too sure about the lighting plans for now, but we'll note it down and we'll check in with the city as well.
no,
Just have it on the line, wait.
Oh,
Hello?
Anita, and sorry.
Yeah.
Anita.
I
go
am
ahead.
waiting. Okay,
Thank you.
just, I want to support Brother Herbert's statement in relation to emergency. What I would like to propose is a possibility of some type of electronic communication that goes along with just causing those barriers to just decrease as it relates to our public safety vehicles that would come to rescue. Also to make someone aware as well that our EMTs and our RNs and our people that handle those vehicles and those situations are able to function apart from the vehicle that they are driving, but they need to know exactly where the emergency is located inside the park. Now, when I go to Wegmans, there's all type of signs that tells me where I'm parked. Sometimes I miss where I'm parked, but we need to have that type of signage. So in the event of an emergency, and right now you're speaking to a medical intensive care RN times 40 years. Okay, now we need to have that type of signage in the event of an emergency. However, that emergency vehicle, those individuals, your EMTs, your ATMs, and all of them, they can function apart from that vehicle. We do have parking lots there, but you need to know where you are to let them know where you are for the emergency? How will you know if it's not, signaged out for you? Do you know what I'm saying? So we're not waiting on someone to find a key. We got 3 minutes to save a life, possibly. We're not going to wait for that. Trust and believe we're not going to do that. We're going to bust up in there and go where we need to go.
Thank you, Anita.
I rest my case on that.
Yes, ma'am.
2 questions. One, since you put the folders and all that there, has there been a change? And 2, is there any sort of camera surveillance or anything of the park itself, around the park?
Yeah. We'll get to that on cameras. For change, how about the folks living by the park? What do you think?
You just told you.
Yes, there's been a change, but there still needs to be
Yeah.
more change. But a huge difference.
Okay.
Right? It looks
That's
more
good.
like a park. Children can play
Yes.
and not be chased by cars, so, yeah.
From an incident report standpoint because every time there's a car that drives through the park, and if they ruin the tire tracks, and then we have to fix it, we always have to file an incident report. I believe those reports have been a little bit better.
0.
Yeah.
I
Well,
have 0.
so that's a
Since-
good sign.
Yeah, March.
All right. Any questions on this? Feel free to check in with me later, but we'll go to the next thing on the agenda. Very quick one slide. So the MLK Greenhouse Rehabilitation Project is currently in the internal engagement phase, where we are talking to staff members that use this greenhouse. The greenhouse is primarily a working greenhouse for the park system, as well as some City of Buffalo flower beds and stuff like that. So it's not a greenhouse where you go and visit and buy plants, basically. It's a working greenhouse. So we have employees in there. It's if let's say you have a volunteer that goes in, they all have to sign a waiver because it's under insurance and all that stuff. So just wanted to make that clear. But there is a future opportunity where community can be more involved in the greenhouse itself, but that's probably in a few years. So more to come in future OCA meetings.
What about the
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Around the park have more beautiful flowers because our signs look dead. I spent my own money putting flowers there. They got cut down and still never replaced.
Wow.
We have one planter across from Calvin. We've been asking to put a beautiful arrangement, just one planter. Still never had it done.
So I think.
No, wait.
Oh, sorry.
I talked to other
Sorry.
people who come and get flowers from that greenhouse that's not around the community. So I want to know, we got this greenhouse in our community, but our community does not look beautiful as when I go out in clearance, it is beautiful. Why can't our community around the park look just beautiful from the plants that grow right there?
Sure. So and you're saying signs like block club signs?
And the one that's not a block club sign right there, that new
The
one.
Madison Park Street.
Right there on Fillmore and Genesee, I'm sorry.
North
Fillmore and North
Yeah.
Parade.
So
Those flowers, there's some there, but they look sick.
They get cut off every year.
And the one that
They
did
don't
the
put
Easter egg
annuals,
has
they don't.
So under the Conservancy's care are the park signs. Any of the block club signs or the Meston District sign is technically not under our priority, not under the care of the Conservancy. So what would help, and also because we have very limited staff for the entire park system, right? There's so many flower beds. And how do we prioritize? We prioritize based on what is under the Conservancy care. What could help and what could help with beautifying the block club signs is if you can have a volunteer event. And if you guys would want to take flowers, and there's no promises, but I can talk to my greenhouse colleagues there and see if we have annuals that are available for plantings in the block club signs. That is something that, and if you can find the people to help with making the capacity, fill up the capacity so that we can make those flower beds happen, that's something that we can discuss further. But because of in terms of prioritization for the flower beds throughout the park system, we have to focus on the park signs first. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but I hope that's, so in that case. Yeah, yes.
So this is Sarah Sutcliffe from Zoom. I also wanted to mention to the Black clubs and other community groups in the neighborhoods that there are Lunenfeld grants from the Garden Walk organization You apply in the fall, they're given out in early spring, and they have to be wrapped up by like October 15th. I think they're capped at $1,000, but they're intended to facilitate projects like, say, the plants that would go around a block club sign. So that's another option because it would help you with purchasing that.
Perfect. And so,
Yep.
and so I hear Regina about the signs, right? So, hi, my name's Athena. I wear many hats in the community, right? But right here, I'm gonna be on development hat. So I was on a tour with ESD, right? Empire State Development, who funds a lot of Olmsted and what they have. So it was under their tutelage that this was open to the public. I said, oh, no. We don't have a greenhouse, right? And so I found out that's actually why I'm here at that meeting is that this greenhouse furnishes almost, let me not say all, because you always never say always and never, right? Furnishes a lot of the gardens within other communities, right? So to Mrs. Gina's point, right? If we are the source of beauty within other parts, why isn't our park beautiful? Right? That's before you answer me, I see your brain sticking, right? Because you have a systematic answer, right? But my problem also is I have to, my car broke down a couple weeks ago, thank God I got it now, but I would have to drive almost 20 minutes, right? To get inside of a garden park, Olmsted Park, right? Where I would, one, most likely feel uncomfortable because people will look at me like, hey, what the hell are you doing here, right?
There you go.
Two, probably have to pay to get in, right? And three, don't have the same access as other people that don't look like, right? So when the system, right, the larger system, people who's actually paying it say, hey, this is a resource that we have in your community. And I'm saying that because when they say, hey, we're pouring $63 million into your community, Olmsted Parks is getting a part of that money. Let's look at the water fountain. Let's look at, the greenhouse, right? But I don't have access to that greenhouse, right? And so when I don't have access and the direct result of money that should be benefiting Martin Luther King Park before it benefits parks that are not in Black communities, why don't we, one, have access? That was my first question. And two, why isn't it first beautification that the surrounding areas? I walk my dog there every day for 1 year. To date, I have been going and asking people, I think I probably in one of y'all emails, to put in dog bags, right? I carry my own dog bag because I love this park, right? But there's other people who don't, right? Or who don't have the money to buy a dog bag and they don't give out plastic bags at the grocery store anymore. So one, why can't we use it? Two, if we can't use it, why aren't we benefiting from it, right? And then what happens to rehab the changes of where those flowers go? So I know there's a priority, right? You said the priority is not the block club. Cool, but this is our park. So the priority, where does Martin Luther King fall on the list of priorities for flowers and beautification? Can y'all give her a chance to answer my question before y'all answer another question? Because I had like 3 of them, I'm sorry. Four, I'm sorry. I'm only calling you.
So let's see, there's many different folds. I would say the first thing on the greenhouse being not open to the public. It is not safe. That's the word. It is not, the public isn't covered under the city and the Conservancy's insurance. And it's not safe right now for public consumption, basically. The building right now has broken windows. The heat doesn't work most of the time. Or in the summer, it gets extremely hot due to lack of ventilation. It's just not a building that is safe for public use. And if someone goes in and gets injured, that's something that we don't even want to go there. So there is a future opportunity where the public can use the space. We don't know what that looks like yet. When we come to that point, we will for sure bring it to the community, and especially the neighborhoods that the neighbors that live around the park. You definitely should get involved in that because, like you said, this is your greenhouse, this is your park. And that's down the road, right? We're now in the internal phase where we are deciding with the staff who's working at the greenhouse. Second part. So in terms of the park system and the flower beds, I can assure you that the MLK team, Troy Drake, district supervisor, and his team, they take so much pride in every single flower bed and the grass that they mow throughout the MLK Park. If you see a flower bed by a park sign that's not looking good, take a picture, send it to me, I'll tell Troy. And I can assure you that for the parks flower beds, they take so much, they do so much, they're so creative with everything going on. Like this photo you see here is a photo from this year. The greenhouse flower beds in the front have never looked so beautiful.
Right,
And-
it didn't start till after 5/14, because it looked trash before then.
Well,
And
I
so
mean,
I'm trying to, I give credit where credit is due, right?
yeah, we also have a new head grower, so that
Okay.
definitely make a huge difference. She used to work for the Conservancy. She's extremely passionate and knowledgeable of plants in the park system. Now she's a head grower. She's under the city of Buffalo, but she works very closely with our team. So she has been great, and the flower beds have been looking better. But I definitely don't want you to feel that your park is not being prioritized, because every park is like a baby. You can't choose one. Everything the team puts in their utmost best in every single park. That's why we have district supervisors across the
I
park
was gonna say,
system.
I don't think anybody in this room would agree with me.
Yes.
I don't believe that.
Wait, this young lady,
Yes, go ahead.
sorry. This young lady.
I guess two things. Number one, this greenhouse is not necessarily the park's greenhouse, it's the Conservancy's greenhouse for the whole park system, correct? So I guess that's the first thing. It's not Martin Luther King's.
It's not supposed to be.
It's, well, I don't know.
It's supposed to be our greenhouse. Put a little sign on the door that says
Yeah.
permanently closed.
Yeah.
But I'm think it belongs to the Conservancy, it's for plants for the whole system. And I use the park, I like walking through it, and I see the flower beds kind of wax and wane. Some years they're better than others. And then I also know for a fact that at times when things have been planted, there's been vandalism. And things have either been removed or destroyed. I remember that at one point in time, some years ago, there was a demonstration rose garden. And over the course of 2 nights, every rose in that rose garden, kind of like the rose garden over at Delaware Park, every rose in that rose garden disappeared.
Oh my gosh.
Every one of them. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of things that, it is unsafe. Those of you that use the park and walk over, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't walk in there anymore. So we do need to have it rehabbed. And then once it's rehabbed, maybe there'll be a little more community input as to what flowers, where flowers, and then also now that we basically have the boulders and things and more of us are concerned about who's using it, maybe if they have a demonstration rose garden in the future, maybe everything won't disappear. But I think, we do put flowers there. It's not specifically for the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. It's for the whole system, but we probably can put more input and say, okay, do we want to have more flowers? Because I think that garden is beautiful. I think the only problem is it's kind of hidden by the hedges.
The hedges
So a
is
lot of
actually
people
gone.
don't
No more
see
hedges.
them.
Yeah, the hedges are.
This is an old picture?
No, this is
The
hedges
hedges around.
Okay.
Right.
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 Gone.
So,
No more.
a lot of people never know the flowers are there. And
Yeah,
that,
but- Not to cut you off. I've been on my corner of Humboldt and Glenwood for almost 15 years. And I never had no problem with my flowers from my neighbor. Now, what y'all talking about with that pop missing thing, I don't know. I don't live on that end. But on my end, what I put out there and put in my home, I have never had any problem out of my neighbor taking my flowers or my flags or anything. And I've been on that property about 15 years or so. And every year I do that. Ain't never had no problem out of some kids out there, anybody else.
It's probably not here.
Well, I'm doing like
Population
kids.
that grows nice gardens, so they uproot. all
And I
the
have been
grass
in that
and
building
they-
before through that security, but that's another story.
And that's,
So-
that, yeah, this is a little American population.
Did I understand that flowers grown in that greenhouse go to municipalities outside of the city of Buffalo?
Olmsted Parks.
Only the Olmsted.
Only
Parks.
Olmsted.
Okay,
So
And-
where else on the book?
Sorry.
No, they're only Buffalo.
Are in,
They're all in
It's all within the city of Buffalo.
please.
It's all within the city of Buffalo, the Olmsted Park system in the city of Buffalo.
so but it services all of the Olmsted parks, but the Olmsted parks are all within the city limits.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's the only where they go?
Say that again.
Is that the only thing that goes within the Olmsted system?
The plants that we grow from seed with our staff, yes, it's only the Olmsted Parks in the city of Buffalo.
None is
Yeah,
donated nowhere?
If we have leftover animals, we give it away to community gardeners, community gardens. We reach out to grassroots gardens. Grassroots gardens will let their community gardeners know, and they can pick up for their own community gardens. So we try to think the priority is these flowers should only be used for community benefit, not for your own private backyard. It should be used for community beautification, and that's the first and foremost.
Okay, so that wouldn't include the block?
That would, but just that there's no capacity to focus on the block club plantings. If you can put a volunteer group together, you can absolutely do it. And with the plants in from the greenhouse, they are left from the remaining. Oh my gosh, where am I going? The remaining plants in the greenhouse with volunteers to plant the block club signs. Yes.
So
Oh, sorry.
wait. So when is the renovation gonna start with the green?
We do not have a
They don't
timeline
have
for
a plan.
renovation yet.
For no
But
money.
the funding is there, right?
No.
So excuse me, is the funding there?
The funding, I don't know if it's the full funding. I'm not too
No,
sure
it's
about that.
not. This is Sarah.
Wait a minute. At the last meeting we had, Brian said that we got 1 million from, when Governor Cuomo first released some funds. And then at the meeting after that, when Kathy Hochul gave MLK Park monies, he said 5 million was going to that greenhouse.
So let me check in on that again. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I was just.
So this is Sarah from Zoom.
Hold on one second. Yes, Sarah. Okay. Oh
If
my
I could
gosh.
address just a few things. The history of that greenhouse, it's actually well over 100 years old. And when it was built, and I've read all the minutes of reports from the park supervisors from the beginning of the Olmsted parks to current. So when it was built with the intention of servicing the entire park network. So over 100 years ago, when it was built, it was where it is now, but always had the intention of, say, flowers to Delaware Park, flowers to all the other Olmsted parks, as well as MLK. So nothing has changed about the intent or usage of that greenhouse in the century that it's been there. On the safety issues, I want to mention it truly is unsafe. There are actually pits in the walkways. There are drainage areas, and the metal coverings or manholes, if you want to call it that, have long since rusted away or disappeared. And you actually have to hop over a gap in the cement. And if you fell in it, you'd probably break a leg. So, and the third thing I wanted to mention is the comment about the gardens not looking great for 514. And that's tough because gardens have like seasonality. So my recommendation would be to use bulbs, because early in the season like that, the things that we like, echinaceas and daylilies, they're just not up yet. But bulbs are spring plants, and they would make the gardens look pretty good, even at the 514 date.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. I know. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Is there any plans to get? Is there any plans to collab with the people that are doing the tunnel for the 33? Has that been discussed?
We are the Conservancy is a stakeholder in that process. Yes. Yep.
Do you know anything about that or not? That's too far ahead.
I can talk about that with you after this meeting if you don't mind. I only have 1 minute left with 20 slides. Okay. So I'm gonna go real quick with something. So wayfinding signage, basically new signs in the parks. And this is just a map of the new signs, and I wanted to just share there are new signage in the park. This is one of the new signs that was implemented right by West Parade when you come into the museum. There are a few others. This is already made. This is in there already. Yep, I just took this afternoon. There are a few that are in production right now, and the plan is to have all these new signs for phase 1 installed by the end of this year. So whatever I'm showing you right now is by the end of this year. So this one, end of this year, end of this year.
See, could you mention the fact that there is a commonality with all the parks in Buffalo in terms of the signage? The
Mhm.
basic plan is the same for all the parks,
Yes.
with certain differences for Olmsted?
Right, exactly. Thank you, Dr. Lewin. So for Olmsted Parks, you would see that it basically says a historic Buffalo Olmsted Park at the bottom. And for the other city parks, they doesn't say that. And there's also a slight difference in color. I believe the green thing on top represents an Olmsted Park sign.
The light green, yeah.
Yes, the light green at the top. So these are all new signs that will be coming up. And then there is also phase 2, which is more ID signs, regulation signs, as well as directional signs that will be coming up, as well as an interpretive signage part. So this one, yes.
What's the difference between signs in MLK Park and the signs in all the other park? The other park signs are older, those are the transformation. So Delaware Park is coming up, are they signs in the park that?
Yes, all the Olmsted parks have the same basic design, same color scheme and everything, but other parks which are not Olmsted parks have the same basic design of the sign, but with different colors. It's a darker green on top, for example. It's a light green for Olmsted Park. And the tree sign you see there is also Olmsted specific.
Oh, the city doesn't have the tree.
The
No.
city has,
Just a.
I believe there's a city park sign. The tree is, it just has the green thing outside. It's representing an Olmsted Park.
Mm.
So this is the system-wide signage project.
Through the whole city.
But I only know for the
You only
Olmsted.
know
Park
Olmsted.
system. Yes,
You
but,
only talk about
okay, we
Olmsted.
have to cut off because the school has to close.
Oh.
So give me one more second. Okay, so this is really quick. These are safety cameras and security in the park system. So all this 2 here and these here are tied to the police department, and they are aware and they are monitoring it.
Double poles, are they installed yet?
They are all installed.
They're all-
Yep.
And they're working?
And they're working, yes. And this is a list of all the special events in MLK Park, so yay. The most used part, yeah.
Great job.
Okay. All right, the rest I will send you via email.
Excuse me, everyone. I'd just like to share something with you real quick. My name is Sam Herbert. And we activated a petition where 14,122 individuals signed a petition calling for the removal of that blackhead in Martin Luther King Park. We want to replace it with a statue that looks just like Dr. King.
Well, I'll sign it.
And we want to replace it. This would be the same height as that blackhead, which is 8 feet. We just brought our letter before the Common Council, and I want everyone to know that the movement is reactivated. It was put on hold because of COVID-19. We was able to get 5 individuals for the committee. We lost 3 individuals due to COVID-19, but I want everybody to know that the movement is reactivated to remove this shameful blackhead that never looked like Dr. King since the 1982 unveiling, and replace it with a statue where even Stevie Wonder would look at it and say, this is Dr. King. Just want everybody to know the movement is reactivated.
I agree with that, brother.
You got a call or something?
If anyone would like to get and be a part of this, if anyone would like to be a part of this committee, excuse me, if anyone would like to be a part of the committee, take my email. It is
Hold on.
One second.
Hold on. Can I borrow business? Can I borrow somebody business?
S.A. Herbert, H-E-R-B-E-R-T, the number 1 at Verizon.net. Please contact me only if you're serious about correcting this wrong.
When do y'all meet?
We will start meeting as soon as we have a meeting at the Common Council. What I'm asking